episode 32 of the podcast. We'll be talking about how our body language can be really helpful to help keep dogs calm. And in the second part, we're going to talk about how we can have a relaxed and safe work environment. This is the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, and a certified professional dog trainer. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. I'm going to start off today with a story about one of my former dogs. So, little Isa was kind of a nervous Nellie, and I've talked about her before, but what I found was when I'd go to a training seminar, there were times when I was focusing more on my learning and my body language shifted. So instead of being the large and in charge, totally in control, comfortable with what we're doing handler that she was used to, I was a little bit more reserved and thinking and not paying as much attention to her body language. And what she would do is start getting a little squirrely. So she would start to lower her head a little bit, be a little bit slower, slow down her movements. And that's because she was looking to me for guidance. And many of our dogs do. Dogs look to us to gauge how things are going. They look to us to find out if things are scary and to see if we are stressed. The books that I had said last week, The Genius of Dogs and What is a Dog? Those two books, if you started reading them at all, I hope you did. But I just recently finished reading The Genius of Dogs again. I reread it since I posted it for you guys last week. And in that book, he talks a lot about how dogs look to us for direction. Dogs look to us to see what we think. They look to us for solutions to problems. Now, in a grooming setting, what we are looking at is a dog on our table who we're totally focused on, but they're also pretty focused on us. So there are some ways that we can set the mood and help them be more comfortable just through our own actions. I think that sometimes we assume that training means that we have to step out of that role, but dogs are learning every time they interact with us. And that's important to remember because those times when things are going great and we're just in the zone, happily scissoring, that dog is also learning that this is comfortable and that you're happily in the zone. Now, to be yourself is important because I tend to be silly and kind of calm and casual. I don't tend to get grumpy. But if I were the type who could not get silly, I'm not saying you need to be a silly person. What you can do is pay attention to, am I the same body language when I shift into a teacher mode or when I shift into first aid mode? Now, what I mean by first aid mode, because a lot of trainers might not be thinking about what we do as groomers, but if I pick up a paw to do nails or to scissor and suddenly that dog yelps just at me picking up their paw, a lot of trainers would assume that we can just put that paw down. Like, oh, he's uncomfortable with it. But we as groomers and vets and vet techs, we go into first aid mode. I need to examine this and find out if you are okay. And to examine it and find out if you're okay, when we're talking about our own body language, it's really important for us to be able to be the same person who was there a minute ago happily scissoring, right? So if I am suddenly, let's take a look, right? A lot of dogs freak out with that. So what we want to do is we want to pay attention to our body language, even if we are suddenly shifting gears. We're suddenly in first aid mode or we're suddenly in training mode. Training mode happens a lot too. And I want you guys to think about maybe videotaping yourself so that you can see what you do when you shift gears. That's what I did for myself. I'll videotape myself and realize, whoa, no wonder the dog got a little bit more apprehensive because look at the body language I just sent when I suddenly was like, oh, okay, well, we need to take a look at this. I find for myself, I do it more with first aid type stuff than I do with training. Because in training, I tend to be very fun and playful in my training. So casual, fun, playful versus, we're going crazy playful. I do crazy playful also, but not on a grooming table. We can't do that in a grooming setting. Grooming setting has to be friendly. So I want you to think about the way that we work with our dogs. already sets the mood. They are learning. Training doesn't start because a dog has a problem, because a dog has an issue. Training is happening the whole time. Training is happening when they're at home. Every time their owners are putting hands on them, that interaction is something they're learning about. So when I talk about having owners trying stuff at home, it's important for them to know I can be casual and just put my hand on my dog and see if he can be comfortable with me. Part of why I talk about the 3 C's, comfortable, calm, and cooperative, is because if we're always keeping those things in mind, if we're always looking for a dog to be calm, to just relax with us, to be comfortable, to not be trying to squirrel away, to be comfortable with what we're doing, and to be cooperative, to be willing to be repositioned and moved around, then we're already setting the stage for good behavior. Training doesn't have to be something that we pull out clickers and food or reward markers. A lot of what we do is training. It's just training through our very services, through doing and teaching them that you are fine. And part of that is how we interact. I would like very much to see more of us just kind of calming down, giving a smile, and bonding with dogs before we even start stuff. And not necessarily silly bonding. I mean, there are some dogs that are very, very silly, so you can't help yourself. But that kind of calm, friendly bonding that we do like on a grooming table. So let me walk you through what I do when I go to somebody's house. I usually, because I'm a house call groomer, start off with just the casual, "Hi, sweetie," and I put my stuff down. I bring in 2 loads of equipment, so my dogs know, like, oh, she's going to go outside again. She's going to come back in. I usually do a, "Hi, sweetie," and I get goofing with them. And then we slow it down to, all right, I'm going to set things up. You go off and do your thing. Because many, many dogs, even though they greet me at the door like I'm family and they're happy to see me, I think it's a little bit like my opinion of going to the dentist. My dentist is nice. I like my dentist and I like all those people. I trust them. I know that things might be unpleasant, but they're going to try to do their best for me, but I don't crave going. And I think that grooming is kind of like that for many dogs. They're not going to crave going. They love the people who do it. And sometimes that's the most important thing, is for them to know that we take care of them and we want them to be safe and comfortable, much like my dentist makes me feel safe and comfortable. So I greet them, and then when it's time to get up on the table, usually when I pick them up, I just snuggle them a little bit. Now, I only groom the small dogs, so they have to fit in the kitchen sink for me to do it. I can't kneel on the floor next to bathtubs anymore. But if I did the large dogs, it would also be, once we're on the table, just a little bit of, "Hey, remember me? How are you?" and a check-in. And it sounds so new agey granola crunchy, but those things make a difference. Make some eye contact, talk to that dog. Find out how they're doing. I mean, they're not going to answer you, but take a look and see what your baseline is. Is that dog nervous right now? Is that dog a little apprehensive? Is that dog nice and loose, right? We talked about feeling for loose. Like if you press against, do they just rock into your hand a little bit? Are they loose? And at that stage, when you haven't even done anything, can you get them to the point where they're loose? Can you get them to the point where they're relaxed? Can you get a nice gentle wag of a tail through talking with them and putting your hands on them? And if that's really hard to get, well, then I need you to think about, well, we got it, right? We took them a little while. I got them to warm up for me. And if I were in a shop, I'd say, good job. Let's put you back in a crate, right? Because in a shop setting, I can set my schedule up to spend more time in smaller bursts. As a house call groomer, I really can't. So as a house call groomer, it's like, okay, great. We're going to have to move on, though, or stop. But there's not an awful lot of opportunity for me to put them down and put them back up. So I want you to think about that relaxed and starting there. You don't need cookies to do that. You don't need clickers. You don't need reward markers. That is just us interacting with dogs in a way that's teaching them. They're learning in that moment. And that is really core to what we do. Because as groomers, we can't necessarily have food. We can't necessarily have food treats out. And while I can use a clicker while holding a dryer underneath my armpit and holding a dog with my left hand and a brush in my right hand and use a clicker under my foot, not many people can. So I don't think it's a really realistic choice for most grooming settings. So trainers, if you learn how to groom and you become comfortable with that, I'm happy to show you how to do clicker training with your foot and a back pocket with some treats in it. But in the meantime, let's help groomers with the two hands they have and the job that they're already doing. And sometimes that starts off with us simply setting the mood, being confident and in charge, but friendly, making eye contact with the dog, unless that is the thing that scares them, right? Meet the dog where they are. Help them be comfortable with whatever it is. And then be confident and friendly. If you are a silly person, be a silly person. But also think about, are you acting differently if you do decide to train? Are you acting differently if you do decide you need to take a look and see why a dog yelped? I think a lot of trainers don't realize that. They hear a dog yelp and they're like, oh, back off, back off, back off. He wasn't ready. But we as groomers think, whoa, are you okay? Trainers don't necessarily think that way because they're thinking just about the brain. But groomers, vet techs, veterinarians, we're like, whoa, that was a little bit off. Let's take a look. Is there something sore about your leg? Is there something underneath the pad of your foot? So just setting the tone, just setting the mood is so critical to what the dog learns from us. And so I want you to spend a little bit of time thinking about that, checking in with the dog. I find that once in a while I help out at a shop and I'll sit there and pick a dog up. I got in the habit of like, hi, I'm Chrissy. What's your name? Your name's Sparky? Hi, Sparky. And it sounds so cheesy and it sounds so stupid, but take the time. Why not? Hi, I'm Chrissy, right? Because something in that interaction reminds you to interact with that dog as another living being and not just a beautiful canvas for haircuts. I'll tell you another story quick, too. My dogs know when I switched from pet owner eye to groomer eye. I swear they can tell the moment I look at them and think, those nails need to be done, or I need to trim that around your foot, or your tail's gotten pretty long. You know, they know. If I look at them thinking, I think you need a bath, they definitely catch on to it, right? So for us to bond with these animals and spend some time being with them and spend some time working with them, just bonding, because then when we are worried about, oh, what you yelped, let me take a look at your foot. My personality doesn't change when I do that now. Sometimes it does, but I've worked really hard on it now that I've noticed that I tend to do that. Now I've worked really hard on like, hey, let me take a look. Yeah, I know something scared you. Let's take a look. Is there something sore? Right? I don't always succeed. Sometimes I still mess up and go very much into the scowly, frowny kind of, oh, let me take a closer look. No, I will say also, groomers, here I am at 47. This is the year that I've decided I need to occasionally start wearing readers for things that are super, super small. And I think that actually helped keep me from scowling while I look at small things. I was in denial. You guys might be thinking about that too. Just put on a pair of readers so that you can see it better. I noticed the dogs were a little bit different when I put on glasses. They were a little bit more relaxed. So apparently I had been straining my eyes and doing the old lady like, can I see that thing? Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing, but I'm going to share that with you anyway. So be thinking about the way that you interact with the dogs and how intense you get, because they're looking to us. They want to know if we're stressed, if things are scary, and if we're calm, cool, collected, friendly. That makes a big, big difference. If you're enjoying my podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. In this second part, I want to talk about how setting the mood for the dogs also gives you a relaxed and safe work environment. The mood of your shop or your van or your grooming space, whether that be an owner at home or a house call groomer like myself, those things, when we set the mood, has an effect on you also. I want you to think about when we're calm and we're relaxed and we're friendly toward the dogs and we're trying to help them be calm, comfortable, and cooperative. We're also being relaxed. We're also being calm. We're also showing that we're comfortable with it. And yes, to some extent, we are cooperative. Now you might be thinking, wait, what? Why would I be cooperative? But I want you to think about this as a bit of a dance. It's a give and take with the dog. You're willing to cooperate with the dog to help them. You're spending the time to help them with those 3 C's, calm, comfortable, and cooperative, instead of finding new and exciting ways to get the job done while the dog flops around like a trout on a line, which we see pretty often. I know I have been part of some of those rodeos where a dog is totally flipping out, and what happens is we're stressed out trying to get the job done safely. On a dog who's stressed, we're stressed. The whole thing is unsafe. It's not safe for the dog. It's not safe for the person. So for us to be cooperative is when we go into our I'm going to back off now mode and help you be comfortable with this. And that's us kind of cooperating with our dogs. I want you to think about how that is going to set you up for more success with the dogs also. Because now, even if a dog is having a little bit of trouble, we're not getting worked up about it. Remember, they look to us to see if we are stressed, if things are stressful, what's going on, how everybody feels about it. And if we free ourselves from this idea that, like, oh, for God's sakes, you got to be kidding me. Oh, the owners didn't work on it at all, right? The frustration level, or, oh, why didn't they just train this puppy when he was younger? Or, oh, haven't they done anything, right? And I mean, I sound like I'm joking around about it, but I know that's what goes through our minds. It sure does. Right? We start thinking, oh, somebody's going to get hurt. Great. Now I'm going to end up worrying if I'm going to hurt him and he's trying to bite my scissors. If we have it in our head already that we are going to cooperate with this dog to teach them, we're not here to get it done no matter what. And that's part of why having a safety policy. I know I beat you guys over the head with that, but make it part of your company rules that, you know what? I'm going to be able to help your dog be good. Forcing him is part of the problem that dogs have with grooming. That's a big one. Think about that. Forcing them is part of the problem dogs have with grooming. It is the scary experience. It's not about whether or not they got hurt. It's about being forced. It's about being lumped on and pushed through, and despite your struggles, having people do stuff to you. It's terrifying if it reaches that point. We know that. We know that, so we shouldn't be doing it anymore. If we have a safety policy, what happens is that it frees us up to make better choices during the grooming, because our expectations and our owner's expectations were explained up front. We talked about it. Hey, when something happens, we're going to slow down. We're going to work on behavior. The trim and the prettiness of a trim is secondary to how this dog is doing on our table. We're not going to do any more rodeos. And if you're not a groomer, you might not know what a rodeo looks like, but there are just times when a dog is really struggling and they're really fighting with you. And we don't do that anymore. I want you guys to say, you know what, that's not worth my time. That's not something that I should be having to do. And that's not something that's productive. If it were productive, then you'd only have to do it once or twice. But we know that there are dogs who struggle their entire life like that. So obviously it is not helping them. I've yet to meet the dog that said, oh, you mean there are 3 people here who could just press me to the ground and get it done? Never mind, I'll just be good, right? We know that that's not how it works. So if we have a safety policy in place that frees us up to make the choices to help calm that dog down, to help them be relaxed, and it also helps our work environment, because you don't have to get hung up on the, oh no, what do we do now? Because your job is to be calm. Hey, you seem a little bit stressed out, dog. So let's back off from that a little bit and reassess what we're going to do. You don't need to be upset. In fact, that's counterproductive. So I want you to think about how your workplace and your job or your grooming setting, so if you're at home grooming your own dog, and now I want you to free yourself from the idea that you have to get it done, and free yourself from the idea that even if I'm frustrated, I'm going to push through it. Because if you're frustrated, you're not helping with that mood. That mood still needs to be there. There are going to be times where a dog is surprises you in how they respond, or you get frustrated. But those are also good times to kind of like take a break. We don't always give the dogs a break. We should be, but it's not always just about the dog. There are times where a dog is doing great and I'm like, I need a break. So let me give you an example of a dog that very recently did something that I did not expect at all. I had been working with this dog for a while. I groomed this dog and I've been doing fine with the nails. This time I go to pick up that first foot, trim the first nail. We had already done a lot of the hair trimming and stuff. Go to trim the first nail and this dog starts barking, flicking around, and doing air snaps at my hand. I'm like, what just happened? Right? So I asked the owner, like I took a break, like, whew, all right, let's calm down for a minute. This isn't like you. Oh yeah, they've been having him get his nails done at the vets. She says, oh, he doesn't do that for them. They just hold on to him. They have another person holding him. I'm like, so they just hold him down while he screamed? It's literally undoing all of the work that I have put in. So the last grooming session I had done with him, he was like, did the nails. And then in between grooming sessions, somebody else terrified him. So I was taken quite by surprise. I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting the dog I've been doing in the past to be just as normal as before. So he wasn't. And I needed to step back because it hit my frustration level. You know, like, whoa, I'm pretty frustrated by that. And I got to say, I was kind of annoyed. Like, all right, so I needed to take a break. And I know that sometimes we all feel that way, like, whew, I need to kind of take a break. So what did I do? I went back to some brushing. I went back to some scissoring. The stuff that I enjoy doing, the stuff that the dog is fine for, because as a house call groomer, I can't just put him down. But if I were in a grooming shop, I'd be like, let's set you in a cage for a minute and take somebody else out. Or maybe go walk it off and see if somebody needs to go pee or something. Like, take a break. But part of what I ended up doing, I calmed myself down and I talked to her about, well, I've been working on this dog's nails so that he is comfortable with it. And I got him to the point where he's quiet, relaxed, comfortable. Like, I open the palm of my hand, he keeps his foot there, so I do another nail. Like, he has plenty of times to feel like he can choose to move away. He's been relaxed for nail trimming and grinding, not a problem. And to suddenly be like this is because he had a terrifying experience with somebody else. And from what I understand, now that I heard more of the story, she's been doing that pretty consistently. So I had to explain to her, well, I can do nail trim appointments in between grooming. It's not like he needs a full groom to have me come to the house. And I actually run a brush over him. But if you want them to continue doing nail trims, maybe they should do all of his nail trims. Because it just frustrates me to have my work undone on a continuous basis. I'm not going to start at zero every single time I groom him. I can't do that. That's just not who I am. I can't do it. And you've seen plenty of times that he was really quite good for me. He's been fine. She's like, yeah, I was a little surprised he was like that for you because he's usually only like that for the vet. Now, keep in mind, owners don't understand why it would be different, so different for some other person and why it would affect me. Like, oh, well, of course he's different for the vet. But they have somebody hold him so that, you just need somebody to hold him. Like, no, I don't need somebody to hold him. I need to start him off again. Like, her thought was that the solution is that she'd just come over and hold his head and we'd hold him down while he screamed. Like, oh, no, that's not what I do at all. So in that setting, my mood was ruined. I needed to take a break. I needed to step back from it. I needed to have my I'm here to help talk. We've talked about that before. Like, talk to her about I'm here to help. I have the solution to teach him to be good for it, and this is how we can do it. Their solution is making it really hard. The vet's solution of just adding more people is not helping. And that's okay if, I'm not saying they should know differently. I hope they do, but that's okay. I want you to know that I can help you, but if you're not going to take that help, and this isn't what I do. I'm not going to hold him down. I'm not going to traumatize him. That's not what I do at all. So when we have a relaxed environment and we're working on dogs who are relaxed and we're trying to help them maintain that relaxed vibe, it's safer for us too. It's much, much safer for us too. I don't want to get hurt at work. That's just, I've been hurt at work. It's not worth it. So be thinking about that when we're grooming dogs, that it's better for us to also be able to be relaxed. And if we need to stop and take a break, then we stop. We take a break. Take a breather. Because no good can come from being stressed out. If I had been stressed out with that particular dog, it would have been so much worse. If I had just decided, knock it off, I'm going to keep pushing, like, it would have been so much worse. I calmed myself down so that I could calm him down, and we got it done. And we got it done pretty peacefully. It just took a lot longer because I had to start at the beginning again. So this week's weekly action step, what I would like you to do, whether you're an owner or a groomer or a vet tech or a vet or work with dogs in some other capacity, what I would like you to do is videotape yourself handling a dog and start noticing what happens what your face looks like when you have to check a nail. Notice what your face does, what your body language does if a dog is suddenly resistant to trying to brush a mat from between their toes, for example. So be thinking about how you respond and how your particular response might need some work or might be awesome, because it may be that you're just really, really spot on and dead on with this all the time. And that's important for you to know too. It's always important to know how awesome you are. So everybody, have a great week and stay curious. If you'd like to talk to me, you can find me through my grooming and training business, happycrittersdogtraining.com, my email, chrissy@happycritters.net, and through the Creating Great Grooming Dogs Facebook page. And we have these awesome devices in our pockets that allow us to do live video with each other. I can help you with the dog on your table. We can set up live lessons, and you may be surprised at how much we can get accomplished together via video. I'm also happy to come to you if you're near my area in southern New Hampshire.